Nazi Germany's economy. Where did the money come from? The rise of Nazi Germany cannot be explained solely by propaganda and military power. The regime also built a massive economic machine. However, much of this machine was fueled not by sustainable growth, but by resources obtained through borrowing, confiscation, and war. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, Germany was still suffering from the effects of the Great Depression. Millions were unemployed and the economy was struggling. The regime's first step was to launch massive public works projects. Autobahns, public buildings, and infrastructure investments created hundreds of thousands of jobs. But construction wasn't the real engine of the economy. The real driving force was rearmament. Billions of Reichsmark were spent on tanks, airplanes, warships, ammunition, and military factories. To finance this spending, economist Hjalmar Schacht introduced a special system known as Mefo Bills. Instead of directly printing large amounts of money, the government issued promissory notes payable in the future. This allowed Germany to secretly borrow vast sums of money and rebuild its army without immediately revealing the extent of its spending. The regime also systematically confiscated Jewish property. Businesses, shops, factories, homes, bank accounts, and valuables were seized or forced to be sold for far less than their true value. This process became known as Aryanization. After 1938, thousands of Jewish businesses changed hands. The government collected taxes, new owners gained wealth, and the regime obtained additional economic resources. When World War II began, Nazi Germany found another major source of wealth: occupied territories. Large amounts of money, raw materials, industrial goods, and agricultural products were transferred to the German economy from occupied countries such as Poland, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Norway. Central bank gold reserves were seized, and factories were forced to serve Germany's war effort. Millions were also subjected to forced labor. In the final years of the war, millions of workers in German factories came from occupied countries. These workers, toiling under grueling conditions, reduced production costs and helped sustain the war economy. However, the system had a fundamental weakness. Much of its apparent economic success was based on debt and plunder rather than genuine long-term prosperity. By 1939, Germany's military spending was approaching unsustainable levels. The regime needed new resources to sustain growth. Consequently, territorial expansion and conquest became crucial not only politically and militarily, but also economically. In short, Nazi Germany's primary sources of funding were state-backed borrowing through the Mefo laws, large-scale military production and rearmament, confiscation of property from Jews and political dissidents, resources extracted from occupied territories, labor from millions of forced laborers, state-directed industrial production. From the outside, the economy appeared strong. Unemployment was low, factories operated at full capacity, and production increased significantly. However, the system became increasingly dependent on war conquests and the constant acquisition of new resources. When the war was ultimately lost, the economic structure collapsed. By 1945, Germany was facing one of the greatest economic and physical catastrophes in its history. And now Germany has become a very powerful country.